Hello, it's nice to be here. I'm Dr. Rebecca Reynolds. Welcome to our Reynolds Provisions publication, Psychomotor Domain P1. This training was developed in partnership between Reynolds Provisions and the Kenya Christian School for the Deaf.
After our welcome slide, we will read over and explain the learning objectives for this training. Then we will confirm needed definitions for clear understanding of how motor skills connect to brain development for learning new skills. Then we will describe both small and large motor skills for children ages 3 and 4. Next, we will give an overview of incorporating motor skill development into your classroom. Then once concluded, you will be introduced to the founding board members of Reynolds Provisions. Lastly, you will be given several possible ways for assessment on your understanding of this training. Welcome to our training for early learning educators. By providing our youngest children and their families with a safe environment and knowledge in how to reach their own health and safety goals, we help families and children to grow resilient for a strong future. Reynolds Provisions provides creative, educational, and environmental and safety solutions to educators and educational organizations. Reynolds Provisions believes that every young child and their families need an education and an educational environment that incorporates current environmental factors of their immediate surroundings to be and remain safe now and in the future. We believe that education and services should include the environmental factors, weather patterns, expected seismic activity, crime statistics, home-stemmed violence, food insecurities, and survival skills. Dr. Rebecca Reynolds has been training educators since 1998. She began training educators internationally in 2016 with her first trip to Malaysia and Vietnam. Now, with teacher training expanded through Reynolds Provisions, we design our trainings to further the education of teachers to provide for the safety and social-emotional growth of our children. When we have knowledge about children's typical physical development and growth, we can guide our children through the development, giving them a sense of security that will ensure a positive social-emotional development. Let's dive right in. Every good training or educational experience needs learning objectives that align with the material and the assessments to be complete. The learning objectives here define you as student. So, if you were to read this clearly, simply exchange the word student with your name or the word I. For example, the first objective could be read as, I will be able to define elements of motor development. With this as an objective, the student, meaning you, should expect this training to include material about motor development. You can also expect to have an assessment at the end of the training that gives you an opportunity to define motor development. Notice that each objective is written as a statement of fact, that students, meaning you, will be able to do something when the training is complete. The wording in objectives is vital. As a teacher yourself, think about how you will apply learning objectives into your own classroom. When writing your learning objectives for your lessons, be aware of where your current students are in their development and educational level. Next, read the remainder of the learning objectives to identify what you will know once this training is complete. Psychomotor is the physical skills action which demonstrate the fine motor skills such as use of pencils, crayons, or tools, as well as actions which evidence gross motor skills such as the use of the body in climbing, dancing, or athletic performance. Simple to read, possibly, but let's break it down a little further. If we break apart psychomotor, we get psycho and motor. So we can think of it in two pieces, psycho meaning brain and motor meaning physical skill development. Separating the two, psycho and motor, will help to create a stronger definition, mainly because they are intertwined. A favorite example of this intertwining development includes alternating steps while climbing, with reading development. When a child alternates steps while climbing stairs, they are teaching the left and right brain hemispheres to communicate and work together. This movement, or working together, is a vital brain function for learning to read. As stated by Harvard University, early experiences affect the development of brain architecture, which provides the foundation for all future learning, behavior, and health. Just as a weak foundation compromises the quality and strength of a house, adverse experiences early in life can impair brain architecture, with negative effects lasting all the way into adulthood. The best and easiest way to encourage the connection between brain development and motor development: play. Play, by definition, is an interactive process, or a kind of, self-directed process. It's not by chance that all children, regardless of where they live in the history of the species, use play as a way to develop skills. According to Harvard University, there are three principles that stand out as being very important to brain development. These include the importance of supportive relationships, the need to reduce significant sources of stress, not eliminating stress completely, but reducing stress so it's manageable, and the third is building core skills, the kinds of skills that are needed for just about anything that we're expected to do at any point in life. In the first identified principle, the importance of supportive relationships, children develop best in an environment of healthy, strong relationships. So, supportive relationships are critically important for healthy development. In the second principle, the need to reduce significant sources of stress, but not eliminating stress altogether so it's manageable, lets brain development encourage healthy hormone development. And the third principle, building core skills, the kind of skills that are needed for just about anything that we're expected to do at any point in our life, including, among others, motor development. Higher mental functions, marked with red, develop as each child learns to communicate and assess with formed thought of their own and the thought from others. Glimpses of experimenting with vocalizing thought patterns can typically be identified in children younger than 3, especially when they act out through pretend play. Motor skills are intertwined with each brain section labeled here. The 4 items boxed in, they're vital to motor development and the building of core skills. Eye movement takes the coordination of brain-nerve communication, receiving and sending information about the environment. That eye movement assists children from birth to develop their voluntary motor function. This eye movement and voluntary motor function increases their knowledge of the environment through the feelings of touch and other senses. Soon, through somatosensory readings from the brain, children will be able to associate that touch with emotion and experience for building on and increasing their own knowledge. Then, with guidance and free exploration, children will be able to navigate their environment through their own senses, increasing language comprehension of their environment. All three principles are needed for the building the whole healthy child. Every child needs a good emotional start to any learning. This includes feeling safe enough to explore the environment. By setting up the environment for self-exploration, giving emotional support, helping to maintain a reduced level of stress, you're setting your students up for building up the core skill set that is known as small motor development. Notice how this picture shows labeled bins of supplies where children can reach independently. Also take note of the child-sized furniture placed where the children can use it. When this child reached for the red basket, she had to first explore the environment to locate the basket. She then had to reach to pick up the basket by pinching her fingers with both hands simultaneously, just enough to pick up the basket. This child then had to visually locate where to place this basket using eye movement, voluntary motor function, sensory and somatosensory actions of the brain to complete the task she explored to find. Once sitting in her place, she had to pinch her fingers enough to pick up a marker and begin to draw. Notice how her thumb and pointing finger work together to complete the task of drawing. Mastering skills such as drawing, writing, cutting, pinching, grabbing, etc. takes practice for all children to master. By the age of 3, this child should be able to focus attention to their own small motor skills to achieve the task seen in this picture. As this child progresses in her experience through time, by the age of 4, she will be able to locate the basket and accomplish the same task with less cognitive thought, with simple follow-through. Fine motor skills are the ability to make movements using the small muscles in your hands and wrists. We rely on these skills to do key tasks in school, at work, and in everyday life, making the practice of small motor important. These small movements come so naturally to most people that we usually don't think about them. But fine motor skills are complex. They involve a coordinated effort between the brain and the muscles. Through observation, educators can help identify children who may need extra assistance in their small motor development. Some examples of when we use our fine motor skills, well, they include holding a pen or a pencil, drawing pictures and writing neatly, using a keyboard, using scissors, rulers, eating utensils, and other handheld tools like hair combs and brushes. People also need fine motor skills to do daily tasks, like getting dressed and brushing their teeth or tying their shoes. Like small motor skills, gross motor, labeled in this training as large motor, also develops through the environment with time and experiences. Gross motor skills include abilities that allow us to do tasks that involve large muscles in our torso, legs, and arms, involving whole body movements. We use gross motor skills for all sorts of physical activities, anything from running to climbing and jumping. Most people use these skills easily and automatically. But gross motor skills are very complex at times, more complex than they might seem. They involve the coordination of the muscles and the neurological system. They impact balance and coordination. They also form the basis of fine motor skills that help us make small movements like using a pencil. Gross motor skills are related to other abilities that include balance, coordination, body awareness, physical strength, reaction time, etc. Having poor gross motor skills can impact people in all areas of life. It can make it hard to do tasks at school, work, and home. Difficulty with motor skills can also take a toll on someone's self-esteem, especially during times of competitions. In the area of gross motor development, we know that oftentimes rolling leads to crawling, and crawling leads to walking. We start with foundational skills and work through a developmental progression. Gross motor skill development helps children to build strength and confidence in their bodies. Kids also enjoy the same benefits of exercise and physical activity as a lot of adults, which is important for a healthy lifestyle no matter your age. Developing gross motor skills helps a child grow in the ability to do more complex skills such as navigating a new playground environment or playing a team sport. As kids gain control of their body, they start to build up strength. Little ones need lots of opportunities to practice movement because that's how they learn and grow. An example of progressive development could include the first item listed. A child turning 3 years old should be able to balance on one foot for a few seconds. When this same child is 4 years old, the progression of balancing longer and having the ability to hop on one foot should be achieved. In the second example listed here, a 3-year-old who catches a large ball with both hands should be able to catch a smaller ball with one hand at the age of 4. While gross motor skill development helps children to build strength and confidence in their bodies, small motor development helps children in their individual confidence. Like gross or large motor development, small or fine motor development also progresses with experience and age. Taking the first item of each box here, you can see a progression of skill. The first item listed includes likes to draw, holds crayon with fingers. This then progresses to a 4-year-old holding a writing utensil correctly without correction. The second item listed, a 3-year-old should be able to imitate designs drawn by others, while at the age of 4, a child should be able to draw simple shapes without watching another, assuming that supplies and direction is applied during the development of this motor skill. A few examples of classroom incorporation have been stated during the beginning of this training, such as making sure children will be able to reach supplies for independent use and development. This includes supplies for both small motor and large motor skills as pictured above. For all plans to succeed, family and friend participation should be encouraged. For example, if a parent sits at the table for a short period of time to write as the child writes, this will encourage students to continue learning to read and write. Also, by keeping families up to date on their child's progress, they can help educators increase their own child's development. Another important step in helping a child with motor skills is assessment through observation. Take E-Man on the right. When observing him pushing this large tire, does he meet his left foot to his right foot with each step, or does he pass his right foot with his left foot with the next step and continue passing a foot with every step? The last step listed here allows educators to create plans that meet children where their individual motor development is at through observation. If E-Man steps only bring the left foot to the right foot with steps continuing this process, a new plan should be put into place to assist E-Man in passing his foot with each step. In this training, an introduction to the elements of motor development was discussed. Explained was the differences between large motor and small motor, as well as examples of how to apply this developmental need into a classroom. Also discussed is the connection between the brain and motor development, as well as the progression of development. The progression of development led to identifying similarities and differences between small motor and large motor skills. Throughout, several examples of classroom incorporation have been given. Think about what supplies are available for your classroom to use and how will you implement their use to encourage independent exploration. A special thank you to the other founding board members who supported the work of Reynolds Provisions from the beginning. Founding board member, secretary, and senior instructional designer and adjunct professor at Concordia University, Chicago, Dr. Helga Hambrock. Interest lies in improving quality education for all and frequently leads global projects. To see what changed in the world, we want to see a graduation from a poverty mindset to a prosperous spiritual and physical future for humankind. Her motivation and interests of being on the board of Reynolds Provisions is to strengthen and to support the missions of the organization. Mr. Emmanuel Reynolds is a founding board member of Reynolds Provisions as treasurer and support engineer, assisting and supporting each project's electronic hardware. Mr. Reynolds volunteers with main projects, helping with creative thinking in areas of technological safety. He has had many different experiences and roles in technology. His most recent work with Plexus, an international technology company, he inspires while building tech hardware that supports the increasing medical needs that involve cyber robotics. Dr. Rebecca Reynolds is a founding board member of Reynolds Provisions who has had many different experiences and roles in education. Dr. Reynolds will at times work with organizations such as Cambridge University and National Geographic Learning to assist in developing international educational programming. She also develops teacher training tools, training and assisting both special education and general education classroom teachers, providing meaningful experiences in expeditionary learning. Through Reynolds Provisions, we hope to spread the work of social emotional, sustainability, and ecological education. By ensuring the education of school children, staff, and community in the areas of self-reliance, safety, and environmental independence, together we can be sure that our future generations will not only survive, but they will excel. We aim to provide installation and education in green energies into our planet schools. We also want to install new safety materials and protocols into our international schools, providing ecological and safety tools to schools who would not typically be able to afford it themselves. We also aim to provide teacher education. This teacher education will assist our educators in how to teach our children very specific to social emotional development, environmental safety and support, climate education and support. Next, you will be able to choose from two options for assessment of this presentation. Option number 1 is to obtain a certificate of completion from Reynolds Provisions. Option number 1 gives directions for payment of $1, electronic certification, or payment of $1 plus shipping cost for paper certification. Or you can gain assessment of this training without Reynolds Provisions certificate through your school's administrative office. The next 3 slides will guide you in your assessment options. The first 2 slides will give direction on how to obtain a certificate through Reynolds Provisions. The third slide is a guide for administrations who decide that they prefer to give out their own credential for this training. In order to gain a certificate of completion from Reynolds Provisions for this training, be sure to complete 2 things and send them both together in one email. The first here is the assessment. You must pass this training with at least 90%. Please pay special attention to number 3 in the directions. This is an important step in learning. Feel free to watch this presentation as many times as you need to gain or check for the correct answers. Learning something new takes an average person 7 times of taking in new information. To gain your certificate for the discipline, Teaching for a Healthy Social Emotional Future, please complete the 5 assessment questions and journal entry. Be sure to complete this individually and not with others. Answer each question clearly and fully. Type out each question with answer and your journal entry on a document, not a PDF. Email your assessments and journal entry to rr@reynoldsprovisions.org. Subject line needs to read "for grading." Each assessment must be passed with at least 90%. If less than 90% is earned, another try is possible. The next slide will explain the journal entry requirement with specific directions. Many people like to sound professional when writing an assignment. However, a journal entry is your personal thoughts and opinions. By writing out your personal thoughts and opinions, you are processing the information gleaned through this training. This is a very important step when learning how to apply new information into your classroom. When writing your journal entry, be aware of the wording used by giving your personal reasons for your statements. Simply writing something such as "I agree" or "I disagree" does not explain your personal thoughts or opinions. By applying the two items on the left in green, personal opinions based on the topic of this training, and how you will apply what you learned into the classroom, answer the questions to the right in blue. There is no requirement of word length, however, these are questions that do not need a lot of words. 1 to 2 pages should provide enough space to fully answer each question. Be sure to email your journal entry with your assessment questions. Administration can assess completion and understanding as they wish without obtaining the certificate from Reynolds Provisions. Here in this slide, you will see two possible options. Refer to your administration's training requirements before beginning either of these options.